Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Let me see if I can nudge a few people to join us too. Okay. Okay, done. How's everybody? How's this weekend been for you so far? Claudia, are you still finding the energies intense? Thank you for joining us. This weekend, well, today in particular, the energies are a bit erratic, and it's pushing out stuff for sure. Well, let's talk about abundance mastery first. Hi, Vicky. First, I'm going to introduce myself, because this will be sharing this with on my personal page with the public. Putting it on YouTube, and I realized that I just get straight into the video, into the topic, and don't actually introduce myself. So hi everyone, I'm Helen Lee. I'm the founder and principal of Heiss Coaching, and which I set up ages ago. The company actually started. I think back in 1991, but it was a communications company back then. And then, cut a long story short, in the year 2000, I had this mega mystical experience where golden light emerged out of me and filled up the entire bedroom. And since then, life has never been the same. I really was being forced into giving up the communications company, the public relations company, because that was not where I was meant to be, not what I was meant to be doing anymore. And especially after I had made a vow to be in total alignment with God, with divine will, with my soul purpose. So having procrastinated for quite a bit, for quite some time, and yet, feeling like my soul was dying inside me. And when I made this vow, and especially after the golden light experience, everything completely changed. And when I say forced, it just seems forced to the human self, not to the soul. The soul is blissfully happy. It's like at last, right? This is real freedom. This is real empowerment, soul empowerment. You're stepping fully into your soul. Okay, and then what I did was create a program that I called Abundance Mastery ages ago. That was then, by that time, I think it would be between 2001, 2002. And it was directed at people to support them to be their greatest selves, and there is nothing greater within us than being our soul self, being our spirit or self, or being pure consciousness itself. But it's a process. It's a process of the human merging with the divinity that we are. Intellectually, many of us know that, but the whole idea is to allow this greatness, this true greatness, this soul power, this spiritual being. And the spiritual being is not just one entity. You know, we are actually part of pure consciousness itself. We're part of existence. We are, in fact, not only part of, we are existence itself. We are consciousness itself, you know, and it's just that consciousness is, you know, elected to take different forms, called Helen or Claudia or Annalie or Vicky or Mariam, you know, and to have various experiences. And in this case, we are in this human body, you know, with going through human experiences here on Earth. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? You know, we've had lifetimes upon lifetimes here on Earth where it's not been the easiest. You know, it's been pretty challenging for us as we go through these experiences. And yet right now is a time when really magic and miracles can happen. But we're not used to that, right? We're used to the trauma, the pain, the struggle, and so on. And we can have moments of joy and breakthroughs and, you know, abundance. But generally, life on Earth has been a struggle, and we, as humans, we get addicted to this pain and struggle. The good news is that we have entered into what astronomers would call the 5th great year, which is also the golden age, the 5th great age and the golden age. The golden age not as in Greek mythology, but golden age as in where we can all really rise and thrive en masse. Okay? And it starts with some of us. It depends on whether you're willing to be part of, not only willing, but you're meant to be part of this first wave. You know, no one is better or lesser than another. It's just what we volunteered to do and what our previous experiences. Annalie, for example, I think it's wonderful that you are doing this food forest. We will definitely need that because we're going to also be faced with a lot of challenges with climate change, and many people still don't realize how dire that is. Many people are still in denial, either calling it a hoax or saying, okay, it's there, but you know, there's no urgency to it. You know, it can't be that bad. You know, and it is that bad, right? And people don't even understand fundamental things like planting trees isn't going to save us. You know, there's so much carbon dioxide already in the atmosphere that we actually have to make sure that carbon emissions are drastically cut right now. Because even when they are reduced enormously, it takes a while still for the atmosphere to adjust itself. And already you see the floods, the earthquakes, the forest fires, you know, the heat waves, the heat stroke deaths is going to get worse before it gets better, okay? And the only way for us to save ourselves and not deplete the earth is actually not only a dire existential threat, it's actually a opportunity. It is the opportunity of all our human lifetimes, of all human lifetimes ever, okay? It's the opportunity. And it takes some doing. We need, as dire a crisis like this before we would really rise, and before we are being pushed to, again, I use the word force, to transform. Because we are creatures of habit, we'd rather, in fact, stick to the pain we know, the struggle we know, right? And these challenging times, all challenging times, push us to rise, push us to do something else, to do something different, or we continue to suffer. And here we really have the opportunity to rise and to thrive hugely, okay? But it takes work, it takes collaboration from all of us, okay? The more we can move into the reality of oneness, where it's not just a word, where we really feel the oneness of everything, and we can come together and act from that oneness, act from that level of pure consciousness, as high as we can gradually or eventually manage. It is a process, but it's not impossible, and it's also not as difficult as sometimes it's made out to be. It's just a question of how much are you connected. I'm pointing at the heart here, the purity of our heart. Pure love is so intense, so beautiful, that when you meld with it, the human self would just cry, because it's a returning home. And that in itself is true abundance. And the more we can merge with this, the more the light emerges from us. And the more we can share that light and that pure consciousness, that pure love with everyone around us, with the world. Because there's a great joy, there's a great bliss within that floods us in the first place, and then keeps flowing forth. It doesn't mean we take any crap from anybody, because that's not loving and honoring self. And talk about loving and honoring self, we really, really need to exercise that. We cannot blame anybody, we cannot judge anybody, we cannot finger point at anybody. We have to take the responsibility to do that for ourselves, to give ourselves that love, to honor ourselves, to say no where no needs to be said. And then the rest is so much easier, when we can do that. I've helped people, to go back to the whole idea of abundance mastery, the program that I created back in 2001, 2002, around that period. It was long before The Secret was out, and the law of attraction was made famous, so much so that when those two things became commonplace, I refused to use the term the law of attraction, I called it the law of resonance, because what it is that is a whole process of coming into resonance with that which our heart desires, with that which our soul desires. Okay, and it's as simple as that. It's coming into alignment with what we want, but we need to love and honor ourselves enough to give ourselves that, to allow ourselves to have that, right? And it requires the peeling away of layers which stop us from having that which we desire. Desire is a very healthy thing, especially when it is in alignment with soul, with spirit, with all that is. Where we're not doing any harm to anybody, where we understand that we deserve that which we want, and we are willing to give ourselves that. And this entire process of transcendence and transformation is part of our life on earth, and especially now we have the opportunity to clear layer upon layer, very quickly. It can be difficult at times, but when you've done it for as long as I have, it becomes honestly easier and easier. And then all the more the light is going to emanate from you, and it's going to show. It just shows in your being, it shows in what you are emanating. It shows in your actions, your behavior, your daily life, which life gets simpler. There's more of a stripping away. There's a removal rather than an adding to. I'm happy to take questions before I continue rattling on. I see there are 7 comments and I didn't see them as usual. Okay. Great, Claudia. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Christina. Glad you could join us. And Annalie. Thrilled that you're here, Annalie. Hi, Mariam. Hi, Diana. Okay, question from Mariam. How does one get out of one's own way? Mariam, you joined my other program, the membership program called The Journey Home, not so long ago, at the end of June. And you have become acquainted with the Golden Globe, the key to mastery, which I share with my clients. And a great part of that process is to step into the soul, step into consciousness itself. You may not have gone to that extent yet, am I right? In any case, the idea of getting out of our own way is to actually step away from the mind controlling us, from the mind leading you. The idea is to have the true greatness, the soul that we are, the inner self. You can call it anything you like, but there is an inner power, an inner wisdom, a divinity within us. An inner wisdom that knows better. When the mind is leading, when the mind is dictating, it becomes a whole lot harder for us. The mind is fear-based, it's ego-based, and the ego is afraid of dying. It is afraid that it will be relegated to the background, and there are many layers of the ego, and the ego and the mind are what will be in our way. So the idea is to go beyond that, beyond both. And the best way I know how is to step into the soul, into consciousness itself. We can also do things like support and soothe the mind and and even the ego. Hi Anna, so glad to have you join us. Okay, so I was saying we can soothe the mind, and the ego. Is not about, thumbing them down, because that doesn't work. It's about appeasing them, giving them a role, but you take charge. And honestly, the idea of stepping into soul and consciousness can be carried out so easily. Because you are already soul, you are already spirit, you're already pure consciousness itself. And when you're willing to be one with who you really are, it's really so easy to step into. I say step into because that's for the mind. Okay, you imagine that soul and consciousness are before you, and you step into it. Of course, it's much easier in the Golden Globe and with me facilitating, but there's no reason why you can't do it yourself if you've done enough of inner work or spiritual work, in any case. Okay, and then you come into the abundance of who you really are, and that is the true abundance, and nothing can take that away from you. That is eternal, that is powerful beyond measure, that is loving and kind and compassionate and wise. It is higher intelligence itself. And to be merged with that gives you absolute joy. It gives you absolute power as well. And true power is power over our own fear and ego-based minds. It's not power over anybody else. It's only the mind, the fear, the ego that needs to dominate any others. Okay? And that's weakness dressed up as strength, so that you feel better, you feel stronger. In your case, Mariam, because I know a little bit about it, you're going through quite a bit at the moment, but I also know, I see, I intuit, I feel, I know for sure that you are going to rise enormously, beyond this current situation. The situation is actually there for you as an opportunity for you to come to know who you really are and to rise up to being that part of you, that true greatness, that true power. Okay? there is a need, the process involves your going beyond the human fears, the human need for certainty, right? To feel safe, a level of security. We, as humans, we all need that, okay? But we are often put into situations where we have no choice. We have to transcend it, right? And when I say, hi Angela, when I say we have no choice, it's the human self that has no choice. But the whole thing is totally designed by soul, by spirit, and we are both soul and spirit, pure consciousness itself. Okay, so we are never not in control, just not in a human way that the human mind needs to be, feel, or have sometimes. That's all. So the whole getting out of the way is going beyond the mind, the ego, the fears. Okay? Okay, great. I love it when I get questions and comments. Okay, darling. What happened? Okay. Well, sweetheart, as I wrote yesterday or posted yesterday, and in fact, I simply reposted what I wrote last year, okay, about how not to be afraid when things fall apart, because it's actually an opportunity for us to rise higher, okay? It's definitely recalibration. How can you accept something that gives you pain? What was the other question? How can I be grateful? Grace, gratitude. Let's start with grace. You know, Christina, you know how blissful it is when you are in that state of grace, when you are at one with your soul, with consciousness itself. Okay, that doesn't disappear just because you're going through a hard time, just because the anger is emerging. And what else did you mention? Anger, sadness, blame. Okay, so the grace doesn't disappear, it's still there. The peace doesn't disappear, it's still there. It's just that the other emotions are dominant at the time. And if you don't fight them, you don't resist them, you don't suppress them, you allow them to flow from within you. And when we arrive at a certain level of mastery, we are not projecting any of these emotions on anybody else. Okay? As humans, we often do that, and there's no need to judge that either. But as I write as well, abundance, or as I say, abundance mastery is self-mastery. And self-mastery is allowing everything to take place. Okay, you feel the emotions, you honor them, you witness them in the first place. And you honor them by allowing them to be what it is, right? What each emotion is. You're not judging it, you're not trying to get past it in a hurry, but you are not projecting it on anybody else. If you cannot at the time go inward and go into the golden globe and release it that way, and you know how easy that can be, We've done it, tons of times together, and also you have done it a lot on your own and done it very well as well. So firstly, we embrace and accept what is going on, what is rising up from within you at the time. You accept also whatever the external situation is, because it's already there. It's already there. And it's there for a reason. It is there as part of what you created before. And what you created before is not wrong or bad, it's just part of your path. It is your part of your soul and spirit design path to allow you to rise further, to allow you to merge and be that oneness within you. And it's only when we can be that oneness within us that we can externally demonstrate that oneness with others. Otherwise, they are just words, right? And we are always practicing being more and more of who we really are. Why practicing when we're already there? Because that's entirely what the whole process of being human in this body and on earth is about. Okay, and this is a magical time. It's a powerful, magical, intense, challenging time. Because there's a whole lot of shedding. There's a whole lot of coming into who we really are. And for the human self, it's not that easy, is it? The thing is, the more we can come from the perspective of the soul and spirit that we are, the easier it gets. The less we are, going to argue in our minds with what is happening externally, what is emerging from within you. So when you can get that, then there is absolutely nothing but gratitude. And until you get to that place, it's okay too. Okay, so the whole idea of absolute acceptance and embracement leads to transcendence, leads to transformation, leads to moving increasingly into your beingness. And that's it. And even if, as I said, even if you don't accept at the time, it's okay. Get to a place where you can accept. Get to a place where you can embrace. Because it's so much easier. Because then there's no fighting anymore within yourself. It is all our collective inner conflict and inner pollution that shows itself in the outer conflict in our personal lives, in the world, and certainly the outer pollution of our oceans and our land and our our environment. So it's not only about, reducing carbon emissions drastically, although that is primary. Equally primary, meaning same level of importance, is the unpolluting of our inner space. And we have to take responsibility for that, each and every one of us, without blame, without judgment of self, with absolute love and compassion and gentleness for ourselves, but also firmness, also discipline. You know, I see people repeating patterns. I mean, okay, it's a very human thing. So, but can't you see your own patterns? Don't you want to do something different? Don't you want to say, no, I've had enough of this? When we get to that point, you know, I'm doing this because I'm talking, you know, referring to a switch internally in our heads, in our minds. When we get to that point where it's like, okay, I've had enough. And I'm going to do something different. It has to come from me, from within me. And then it changes. So let me see, have I answered you? How can I accept something that gives you pain? Because the pain is being released from you. External things can cause pain for us only if it's triggering something that's already there within us. Does that make sense? So then that applies to you too, right, Miriam? I allowed them to flow. Very good. There you go. You answered your own question, darling. And I went on for a bit. Never mind, it'll benefit somebody. Why do you ask if you already did that, right? And it, darling, it's inside you, you know? It's got to come out. It's got to come out so that you can shine, so that, you know, so that your light can, you know, emerge and expand and you can flourish. Okay? The basic abundance mastery stuff, which I do for everybody, is, you know, as I mentioned at the last Facebook Live just only a couple of days ago, it's about getting the job, the man, the money, you know, the woman, the clients, you know, that's easy stuff. Okay? The hard stuff is what you're going through now. It's the process of transcendence and transformation. And transcendence is, to demystify it, is simply to go beyond the human self, which is merely a facade. It is merely part of this grand illusion. And to be the soul and the spirit that's already in there, you know. And as I mentioned also at the last Facebook Live, you know, I helped this man get 3 to 4 million US dollars. And then after that, he has to face other things. He had to deal with own health. And he had to deal with his personal life. Because these are things within us, within all of us, that we have to address. We are meant to address them. We are meant to address them so that we can rise and be the true greatness, the soul, the spirit, the consciousness that we are. And those things, soul, spirit, consciousness, it's actually one thing. And it's actually who we really are. And, you know, we would delay doing that. We would rather deal with everything else but that. And yet, that is the true abundance. And I don't expect people to get there right away. I've done my share of resistance and procrastination, you know. So I understand that, of course. But we've come to a point in time when we can still, I was going to say we cannot delay any further, we cannot procrastinate any further. We certainly can. And many will. But, there's a big but. And that big but is that if we love our children, if we love our grandchildren, if we can even think in terms of future generations, then we would not delay or procrastinate anymore. We would get off our butts and we would spend time, devote time, commit time, dedicate time towards this end, towards merging with soul, with spirit, with consciousness. Just so that we allow this greatness, our true self, to emerge and take charge. And if there are enough of us who do that, can you imagine what our world would be like? It would be totally transformed. Right now, scientists are saying that, saying a few things. One is that we cannot reverse climate change already. We can only make the temperatures less high so that we can bear the heat. And the other thing is that they talk about planting trees. Yeah, planting trees is great. We should stop deforestation, we should plant trees, sure. But there is not enough land to plant enough trees to resolve climate change. It is as dire as that. The only thing we can do is make sure that we drastically reduce carbon emissions. And each one of us reduce our own carbon footprint. There's so many ways we can do it and take charge. And we can work on our own inner state to clear the pollution within us. And when we can do that, all of that, we will transform our world. And then maybe there can be some magic and miracles where climate change is no longer an issue. So as I said at the beginning, this is in fact the opportunity of all human lifetimes. And it's great. It's great. I'm glad we are at this juncture where we are facing this dire existential threat, the greatest existential threat we've ever faced. Because it takes this to force us to stop delaying, to stop procrastinating, to pay attention to what's going on within us, to rise up as the masters that we are. So what if you have a little bit of a life situation, a challenging situation? Many of us have survived them. We are resilient. We are invincible, right? That's the word that surfaced in the middle of a year when I was faced with, challenges I wouldn't wish on any of you. And I more than survived. So it's about thriving, not surviving. Hi, Karen Klaus. Happy to have you here. Hi, Anne. Wonderful to have you here. Christina says, yes, yesterday I got exactly those words. That's enough. That's wonderful. I just realized that everything that happened recently is meant so I can start coaching exactly, Christina. You know, and not procrastinate and wait for a year or two because of raising kids. Exactly. Beautiful. Vicky, when we see the hate and bad things in the world, how do we stay in soul and not get triggered? I wrote a comment about that, but you know, I just reposted it from last year, so I don't remember what I said. But the answer would really be to be neutral about it. You know, it's just as Christina realized that, you know, she's going through what she's going through because, you know, she is to help her go beyond, and then she can, you know, start doing the soul work she's supposed to be doing, which is coaching, you know, and she's doing my coach training at the present, bless her. Christina is one of the most dedicated and wonderful clients I've had. Wonderful because she is dedicated, you know, she's very sincere about it, you know. So, okay, to go back to your question, Vicky, how do you not get triggered? I mean, Vicky, when you get triggered and you get, you know, pissed or sad, what do you do with those emotions? Did you say something else after that? Let me see. I look out and sometimes the sadness and hopelessness of the world seems so large and I get drawn. Yeah, I can go back and look at posts I have been off Facebook with horrible migraines. You poor darling. Hoping it is from releasing. Yeah, Vicky, darling, it's the migraines that I feel most empathy for you, you know, for going through all that. That's hard. It just makes everything else much harder. But that's your path, and you simply have to do the celery juice routine daily, conscientiously, consciously, and release, you know, all that you are carrying in you, you know, that's creating all those headaches. It is good that you stay away from Facebook for a while, and also maybe support yourself by not seeing any of these posts, you know, about those things that make you sad or angry or whatever. The whole thing about what's going on out there is simply a reflection of what's going on within all of us collectively. B, or secondly, it is emerging big time so that it can be dissolved entirely. Okay? To get caught up in it and to suffer because of it is you not loving and honoring yourself. So you have to do everything you can to not put yourself into that state. Does that make sense? Okay, don't do that to yourself. Just stop seeing those articles or seeing it on the news or something like that, and then otherwise you can be reacting to everything. I look at it all. I read most of the stupid comments attached to these articles, and then I see where people are at. And it's okay. Why is it okay? Because it's a process. Because many are not part of the first wave. So they're not going to get it. And it's okay that they don't get it. I just saw the light from the left emerging. That's my guardian angel. Yeah. When you, it's the same as when you accept and embrace the emotions arising from within you. You know, you accept everything, you accept everyone. You know, okay, in that moment you might be pissed, but you know, don't stay there. Being angry or upset or sad for a moment is okay. They're just energies flowing out from within you. They're not you. Let them be there and let them flow away. Finish. End of story. Okay? But if it triggers what's already in there and you keep, you know, going through that loop, then it's a problem. Then you're the one who suffers. And if you suffer, how can you, you know, help yourself firstly, and then secondly, help others, right? And Vicky, you have the greatest potential. You know that. I've said that to you, right? We're talking about you doing the coach training in the near future, right? So you got to just love and honor and support and adore yourself, you know, like you would others. You're a loving person, right? Do that for yourself, okay? Well, you know, they're hateful because they're meant to be hateful, you know, Vicky? It's just a role that they are playing, all right? They are pure consciousness also. It's just a role. It's just the illusion, right? We don't have to hang out with them. We don't have to live with them. We don't have to engage with them. Let them be hateful, okay? We can be our loving selves and we can expand the love that is within us, okay? We share the love. We do our bit. We shine our light. You know, I'm very focused with what I do, and I'm working every day. Every day on things that will add up eventually and that can make a difference. And I'm very patient with the process, where they may not appear to be evidence to the public, to some people, where I can get, let's call it the rewards, right? Not even the external rewards, maybe a certain fulfillment inside. But it doesn't matter. When you know who you are, when you're one with that true greatness, that true power, with the soul, with spirit, with consciousness, there's zero need for any of that. And many of us are called to be like that at this point in time. Because if we lead by being more of the same, what's the point? We're not going to change anything. We have to be different. Hi, Angela. Yes, Angela, but with you, I'm going to jokingly, teasingly say, except for my Facebook post, you can read my Okay. And also, Angela, you can talk about, or you can share if you like, about the magic and miracles you have experienced. Angela did my coach training many years ago, I think, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago or whatever. And then she's redoing it again recently. And when she came back into my life recently, a lot of wonderful things have transpired. Right, Angela? It's a, you call it 180, I call it 360 turnaround. And yesterday when we were talking, suddenly she saw not one but 2 rainbows in the sky. And I wanted to share with you also, Angela, that today, before going to the sauna, I sat by the pool for a little while, waiting for the sauna to heat up. And there were no rainbows in the sky, there were dark clouds. And I sat there because I had to wait for the sauna to heat up, so I entertained myself. I looked at the sky and I said, okay, I'm going to clear these dark clouds, number one. Number two, and I'm going to look beyond the dark clouds. And I'm going to see if I can see the rainbow light. Not the rainbow, but the rainbow light. And I did, the whole sky filled. And this is, I've written about it, I've posted about it as well. And this is what I want to share with you all. You know, New Earth is here. And what is New Earth? New Earth is of a much higher vibration than the old. And for some time now, the highest frequencies from the center of 22 galaxies have been flooding this planet. These are God energies. They were not available before. They are now. And that's why I can see this rainbow light everywhere, whether it's in the room, the very room I'm sitting in right now, or in the sky anywhere, regardless of whether there are clouds, dark clouds in the sky or not. So I did my little job of clearing the clouds, the sky, saw the rainbow light, went into the sauna, came out, and the whole sky was completely cleared. And there was no rain as well. You know, magic. We have the power to create magic and miracles. Hi, Cheongche. 360, I insist, Angela, it's 360. Or maybe nearly there. Hi, Cheongche, how are you? Have you been traveling a lot still? You were going like just about everywhere in the world. You know that takes up a lot of, that increases your carbon footprint, right? Okay, what else is there? I have many fears, storms before reaching this stage. Oh, Angela, you're doing great. You have to applaud yourself as well. Okay, have I missed out something? Yes, I was called to resurrect and revamp Abundance Mastery, the one that I created ages ago in 2001, 2002. So there's now level 1 and level 2, and one of the reasons that I'm asked to do this is to actually help me fulfill my own unwavering vision or that I've held for more than 40 years of abundance for all. Okay, so we can either together create a dystopia where, you know, we create an uninhabitable earth where everything is being destroyed, where earth becomes too hot to live in. And some people talk about going to Mars, which is going to be worse than actually, you know, some of the worst places here on earth. So that doesn't seem very sensible to me. I talk about all this in my book, and also about the solution. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. The point is about abundance for all. And so with level 1, I would help people, you know, create the physical or material abundance in their lives. And that is both material wealth, jobs, money, whatever you need, and as well as the relationships, and anything else along those lines, you know, like human desires. And then, but in the process of that, you are rising, right, as you move towards thriving. And hi, Chungche. Yeah. And where was I? Level 1. Okay, so you rise as you know, begin to materialize that which you desire. With level 2, we go further. Okay, we go deeper or higher or both, and if people want to create conscious businesses, I can help you do that as well. Nothing is too difficult as such. The requirement is your full collaboration. And even if you can't fully collaborate, you can do your best to collaborate more and to resist less. It is in your best interest, because the more you collaborate, the less you resist, the faster you get the results you want. The happier and more blissful and more powerful and more of the higher intelligence you can be. Okay, that is the process. And you can, I've reduced, compared to like 2 decades ago, compared to so many years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm not talking about one-on-one prices, I'm talking about the group fees that I charge. And now with what I'm offering is like almost 33% and as much as 40%, depending on whether you sign up and benefit from the early bird price or you do it later. So just go to my website. It's www.leeheiss.com/abundance-mastery. And I put links on all of my Facebook pages anyway, so it's easy to find. What else do I want to say to you? Yeah, in the end, it's about answering your own soul's calling and fulfilling your own purpose and being truly fulfilled, and then helping or serving others, you know. There's nothing like it, and you will have such tremendous, I wanted to say fulfillment, I wanted to say completeness. Yeah, it's like there's just nothing missing, you know. And every day you get up and something is driving you, you know, that your life is purposeful. I couldn't recommend it more. And you do it at your pace. You know, you can even repeat level 1 several times before you do level 2. You can repeat level 2 several times as well. It's entirely up to you, because each time it'll be different. Each time we'll go deeper. Each time we'll address things within you to be clear, to be transcended, to be transformed, to be loved, to be adored, to be honored. You know, it's coming to this place where you, within you, where you can give yourself that sacred respect, and you can offer others the same. And that's a tremendous thing. Okay, beautiful people. Let me look at, oh, I've gone on for more than an hour already. Hi, Laurie. How are you, darling? I'm missing you at our Journey Home sessions, big time. I know I keep asking you. Okay, so has anyone got any further questions for me? Mariam, how are you doing, darling? Are you still there? Do you have any more questions for me? With what you wrote to me earlier, I would say use your intuition. I think you are intuitive enough, and you can say as much or as little as you feel is a good idea, as you feel is wise to the person. And just simply be true to yourself, okay? And the rest will fall into place. And we can talk about this some more if you don't have any questions for me right now. Okay. You are most welcome, Christina. You're going to do fabulously, okay? I'm very proud of you, and also of Angela. Oh, you're welcome, Angela. Yeah. Oh, Chiang Chei, you've always been doing very well, darling. You know, except maybe I would encourage you to travel a little bit less because of the carbon emissions. That's all. But I'm not going to lecture you on that for sure. Okay, beautiful people, if you have nothing more for me. Oh, here I've gone on for almost 1 hour, 10 minutes. Okay. If you have nothing for me, I shall say, you know, thank you so much for being here. Let me see if I have, because I jotted down something, see if something that I really want to add to it. Yeah, I also wanted to say that we have come so far from being who we really are, in the sense that it's time to not only be spiritual beings having a human experience, it's actually time to be the spiritual beings that we are, full stop. You know, thank you for the hearts, whoever's sending them to me, bless you. And I was thinking of the tsunami, you know, in I think how long ago was that? I can't remember. Am I thinking of 2004 or 2012? I forget dates, you know. Okay, whenever it was, the big tsunami in this region, and people got drowned, right? People got killed. Whilst what the animals did was simply go climb up to higher ground. And when they did that, they were obviously saved. Now, how come they can do that and people can't, right? Because we've come so far away from being our true selves, right? The, from being tuned in, so we are not using everything that is within us, right? We've got the 12 DNA strands and only 2 have been activated. Well, we're being activated big time now, okay? The more these 12 strands, all of them are being activated, the higher the dimensions we will be embodying, the vibrations of these higher dimensions. Okay, and therefore it is quite a grueling process to be shedding all the extraneous human stuff, and it's grueling only to the human mind. It's not, and to the human self. Not to your true self. Your true self loves it, and also understands, that it's grueling for you. And then I wanted to touch on the idea of certainty, which I did mention at the beginning. Angela and Christina, we've touched on that, to have that divine certainty within us, right? When we have that, and you must return to that, you must expand that. And when we all have that, there's nothing that we cannot handle, nothing whatsoever. And we can create plenty of miracles and magic, not only for ourselves, but for all sentient beings, for the whole world, and for many generations to come. We're not leaving the planet until we get the job done. Okay, that's not to frighten anybody off, but it's a wonderful job, I think. Each one can do what pleases them, what their soul is meant to do. So there's no imposition as such, unless it's what you're supposed to do and you're not doing it. Then you might hear from me. That I can promise you. Okay, Angela, no sweat. Yeah, so we can move away really from the whole idea of not being good enough or not having enough, to the magnificence of who we really are. Actually, I wanted to touch on deservability quotient, a term which I created ages ago, and I talked about everything else but that. Deservability. When I first typed in that on my computer, what's that stupid thing called? Autocorrect, yeah. Changed it immediately to desirability, okay? And I laughed because I thought, okay, that's exactly where humans are, we are more focused on the external, on whether or how desirable we are or not, okay? So that's what the autocorrect knows, right? It's based on that. But deservability, a word I coined to mean our ability to feel deserving. And we all deserve the very best, all of us, bar none, okay? And the idea, the whole process, all my programs, all my processes are about that, actually, to support us, to support people, to support you, to rise up to that place within you where not just think, but know that you deserve the very best. And you're not going to come up with, mind stuff that's going to say why it's okay like this or like that and so on. Okay, you're going to have that great clarity, and you're going to say no when you really ought to say no. And you say a great big yes to yourself. Okay, and when that happens, you actually entering a portal into your own divinity, into your own true greatness, into the invincible love that you are. And you share all of that with everyone around you. We're here to do that. We're here to be the light, to shine the light, to be all that we really are. And not just as a matter of words, but to actually do it, to be it in the first place. And to do it en masse, okay? So some of us have to be part of the first wave, and then we can support others, around us. And then we create magic and miracles together. Okay, there's a whole lot more. I'm not going to go on anymore. I'm going to say good night. It's almost 10:30 here. And I'd say good night. I love you. I love the idea that we are in this place, we meaning all of humanity. We're at this point in time where we can really make a huge difference, where we can really change things, where we can come together and rise together and collaborate together and be our greatest selves together. Okay? So, if you like, sign up before the early bird expires, on July 12th. And then there's also our other programs, if you prefer doing sessions with me on a one-on-one basis. Or then there's the membership program where we have monthly sessions. Okay, whatever suits you. I send you big love, much joy, and many blessings. Good night, everyone.